welcome to another session with the Casual Engineer. Today I'm going to have a little look at Leo. I haven't seen much of him for a while. I know Wally usually picks him apart for various reasons, and so does Wolfie, but my turn to have a little chat about the gentleman today. Leo, of course, is the gentleman who goes by the name of Level Earth Observer, Adam. Crane driver from the UK. Let's see what he's got to say about this one.
Lady's not happy. Why? Because people don't believe the Indian moon landing was real. So let's have a look.
Last year, India landed a spacecraft near the south pole of the moon. That really happened, and it's come to my attention that people don't think that's real because of this cartoon. People think India is claiming this is their moon landing footage, which I'm very confused by, because you think India's claiming to have a second spacecraft filming it land? The Indian...
No. I can only speak for myself here, obviously. But no. I simply highlighted grown adults working themselves up into a frenzy, clapping cartoons. And also citation of some imagery and a lunar rover charade isn't proof of anything other than the gullibility of the people that believe that tosh. So no. What would have been ideal proof is a camera on the moon, filming, live streaming HD 24/7. Could sell the rights to weather channels.
Well, Leo, personal incredulity, as I keep hearing it called, is not the way to debunk stuff. And wanting a second camera up there, well, are you going to fund it? Because it's not going to get funded by the people putting these various probes up there. It would effectively double the cost of their rocket mission. It would double the team size, and there's a high risk in, if a mistake is made with any of the software, cross-couple instructions, and then the whole thing falls apart. Basically, I don't think that the way you've approached this is appropriate. You haven't taken any notice of what's been said. Far more importantly, you're just saying, no, it can't happen, it's not possible. Yes, that was a CGI cartoon to give people a visualization, but what about all the telemetry? The teams of people aren't looking at that pretty cartoon, as you called it. They're looking at telemetry, nothing else. They've got a screen, numbers, and those numbers, and the graphs that those generate, are telling them exactly what the craft is doing. Telling them if it's oriented the right way, if it's accelerating, decelerating. They measure the distance to the ground with a radar. All that information, telemetry, comes back to them, so they know what's going on. And she does point this out, that there was a visualization and there's another item there, and you're just saying, oh no, that's not good enough. And like most people who are into conspiracies, you hand away anything that you disagree with. Not bad.
Companies like Coca-Cola and make millions and millions and millions. We got served up was anything but proof.
stream. We can see the visualization.
Now watch her here. She actually thinks she's having a result here over this silliness. Bless her.
Of the lander module moving towards the moon's surface. We can also see the image that the lander imager camera has been providing.
Did you catch that? Did you catch that they said?
Yep, I clearly heard it. Because I work with people from India, I can pick out their English quite well, right, with the accent. I'm fine with that. But Leo, I get the impression that you just ignored everything that was said to suit your narrative, nothing more. Seriously, mate, you're going to have to pick up your game if you don't want people doing this to you all the time. Let's move along a little bit. What else we got?
D24/7. That would have been proof. Everything that's been...
What do you want?
Here's a hint here, young lady. We never doubted that for a minute. Our only claims, again, I'm going to speak for myself, my only claims were, why isn't there a camera filming in HD 24/7?
Well, let me get this straight. You want a camera, HD camera, 24/7 somewhere on the moon, which may not be anywhere near a landing site. Would have to be on an orbit. The coordination to get the orbiting camera and the landing to occur simultaneously would be pretty hard. And you did initially say our claim is or our request is, and then you change it. Oh no, I'm speaking to myself. So why'd you change your mind? Why did you suddenly change it to, oh, this is only my opinion? So you're one person who, amongst millions, doesn't see what you're saying is in fact the very thing you're calling it tosh. Good luck, mate.
That would have been proof. Everything that's been served up as so called proof has not only been embarrassing, but it's been exactly the opposite as far as proof. It's been incredibly damning. But here you are, attempting to defend this silliness.
And that the real photos were
It's funny. She's not actually defending the silliness. She's pointing out that there is real telemetry data and camera data coming back from that probe. Stuff that you completely overlooked and have been clever to avoid discussing in the first place. And then going on about how it was silliness. Don't know about you, but I've got a feeling the silliness is on your side of the fence.
next to it. These are the real photos.
Ah, yes, this is the famous epileptic lunar descent footage, isn't it? That again is only proof of the gullibility of people that believe this tosh.
Taken by the Chandrayaan spacecraft as it approached the moon. And this isn't even the whole thing because it's very long.
Thank God, we would have all probably had epileptic fits.
Oh yeah, I remember this now. Leo actually went and had a look at the landing video and decided that was all CGI as well. But basically, if you're not familiar with how these mechanisms work, you pass information from one system to another. In the old days of analog, it was a little bit simpler with the digital ones. They tend to have lower power. They also have packets of information. So to give you an idea, if you're talking about the internet, you've got a choice. You can put very large packets, which are like rocks down a tube, which don't go very well. We can break it up like grains of sand and pour that down a tube instead. The entire internet, the entire radio network of interneting information, digital information, breaks things up into smaller chunks and sends them on their way. And that does two things. One is it's easier to pass those around. From a technical perspective, if you're building internet today, you would have to look at maximum size, time to live, what time is transmitted. You would also need a sequencing number. So this packet is the first of thousands. And this packet's the third, this packet's the fifth. Now the second and third ones come in. And you have to write a program that receives those and reassembles them in the correct sequence. Now in the process of doing that, you might get minor disconnects if they're using other satellites. The satellites will come into and go out of view, and your radio device only has so many degrees of bandwidth on the antenna. You're not going to get the full picture if you've got a satellite coming in and out and another one hasn't reconnected, so you get breaks. That's one way you can get a break. Another way you can get a break is there's degradation. There could be RF interference, which is quite common. That could also cause signals to degrade and get lost. So you get all these kind of things happening. I just came up noticing that you don't address any of these points. You don't seem to know anything about the technical side of this work. Oh well, let me educate you. You'll be very pleased though, did.
And again, it's not very good quality. It looks ridiculous. Do you know why? Because it is ridiculous.
Personal incredulity, Leo. You're so predictable.
By now, if men walked on the moon in '69, by now I'd be expecting firework displays on the moon on a regular basis. HD.
So there'd be fireworks on the moon on a regular basis. Well, got some news for you. The moon is inhospitable. No water nothing in the way of water that we consider to be water. Virtually no atmosphere. Basically, you wouldn't be able to do that because things you want to burn to strike those fireworks would probably be in need of some oxygen at some point. Well, I know most explosives contain their own oxidizer. Somewhere between the point of ignition and setting it off, there's usually a little paper wick. It's assuming that type. If they're gone full pyrotechnics and they're electrically driven, it might work, but the people would be very expensive to get up there. You've got to carry explosive with the rest of it. blowing up in mid-flight. There have been, in the last 18 months to 2 years, there have been numerous accidents of places that do fireworks. I think the most recent was in Thailand. So that's a consideration. You need to consider the impact of carrying large amounts of explosives or materials to make explosives all the way to the moon just for a fireworks display. In any case, let's see what you've got to say for the last of this.
Cameras all over the moon, trips to the moon, shuttles to the moon. All of that I'd be expecting by now. But no, it's just regurgitated tosh. Not even done as well as it was back in the old days. Dear oh dear.
Well, Leo, all I can say is you love telling everybody it's tosh. You paint a picture that there's this whole raft of things that should be happening by now, and I kind of agree, because I grew up in the 60s where a lot of publications were saying the future looks like this, and that hasn't been the case, and for a lot of reasons. Predominantly money. You have to realise the millions of dollars it takes to build a rocket, test all the components, all the stages. If you've probably forgotten this yourself, but the crane that you're on, the materials it's made from get tested. The wire for the boom, to operate the boom, that gets tested. People come around regularly and recheck the crane for safety reasons. If you do not have a testing and evaluation regime in place across the equipment that you're using, it becomes unsafe, because nobody's noticed the rust, nobody's noticed the wear and tear, nobody's noticed something isn't working properly, and it kills people. I hope, for the sake of everybody, that you don't actually think that the testing regime is not required. And on that note, Leo, this is the judgment. Sorry, mate.